Welcome back to the Old Rope Salvage Workshop, and what the heck do we do with the engine, part 2.
We are Lisa and Tim, and together we have spent the last 3 years taking apart, restoring and putting back together this 1975 Bedford Firetruck in the hope that one day it will be the rolling home on wheels of our dreams. In the meantime, I'm on a break from the workshop, leaving my slightly bruised and battered other half to work on the engine.
Better fill in the injury book.
A task which was given him all sorts of dilemmas in our last video.
I should be happy.
In this video, he's carrying out some highly scientific tests, fixing up the auxiliaries, testing out a fancy new heat-resistant paint on some of the bits, and well, you know, just generally getting stuff done, and we hope, making a few decisions.
I've waited a little while to do the intro for this video until the last video had come out and I could read all the comments that were put on it. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much to everyone who's left a comment and told us what you would do in my situation. As we've said before, we are not car builders. I've worked on cars for most of my life, played around with them anyway. But a lot of this process has been a lot of research and learning and trying out new things all the time. And all of your information and advice is greatly received. Thank you very much. I think a couple of people probably picked up on the fact that I didn't really want to strip the engine right down. And I think that a lot of your comments have probably given me a bit of reassurance that I'm not skimping or taking the easy way out by not taking it apart. I shall get on to what are 3 standout things that the majority of people have said. There are a couple of things, as I was expecting, you know, throw the engine away, get a diesel. We did say why we weren't doing that in the last video. A few do nothing, a few paint it, and 3 of them which kind of stand out. 3 that I kind of expected really, I think. Main 2 are put an endoscope or borescope down it and just have a look to see if there's any, give you an indication of the state of the bores. The second one was a compression test. That will give you a really good idea, I suppose, again of like the rings and the valves, how they're seating. And the third one, which we're not sure about at the moment, I shall come on to why in a little bit, is to take at least one of the main bearing caps off and have a look at the bottom. See if there's any scoring on the crankshaft and maybe take one of the big ends off as well and have a look at that. I'm going to try and do that if I'm able to, but the engine is really heavy, it's on the stand. We are hoping to get another lift so I can like get it up in the air a little bit, and I would like to do that. There was another thing that I did manage to find out. I actually managed to track down one of the past owners. The past owner who I believed had done the work. Thanks very much, Bob, for speaking to me and telling me what you could about the engine. It wasn't fully rebuilt, but he did go into it quite a bit. The head was off it. He said he put new piston rings on it. Didn't replace the main bearings or anything, but at the time of checking, they were okay. Now this is some years ago, maybe this is probably 10 years ago, but by the look of it, I don't think it's hardly done any miles since then. So, like I say, I'm going to check them if I can, but it does give me a much better sense, relief, I suppose, that the engine is gonna last for a while. So yeah, in this video, we're going to check those things out. We're going to get an endoscope down the bores, and we're going to do a compression check. One of those things is thank you very much to Chris, who sent me an endoscope, borescope, and I've also managed to buy a compression test kit off eBay. I hope this is up to the job because it only cost me about 12 quid. So, well, we'll see how that goes. So, yeah, just got to pick the right spark plug, a thread, looks right. Attach that to the hose. I have read the instructions first. Fortunately, I don't have to disconnect loads of stuff off the engine like you'd normally have to because there's nothing on there to disconnect. Right, so yeah, the idea is that goes in the spark plug hole. That will measure how much compression there is. See what we've got really. I can't remember what the book said you're supposed to have. I think it was like 110 psi at cranking speed. I've got an old battery on it. I've had to put the starter motor back on. It's nicely painted now. And let's see what we get. Right, start over here I guess. One nearest. I've got all the spark plugs out now. I think that's okay. The engine will be a bit freer to turn over. Might go a bit faster than it should do, but that's how it says in the instructions to do it. Don't know how good this battery is. Let's see how it goes. Crank that a few times, see if the needle goes up. Get some sparks going. Ooh, looks pretty good. That's about right. 100 and, is that 10 or 14? Very good. Right, I'll write that down. Check out the next one. Well, this is exciting. Next. Come on, fingers crossed. Ooh. That's more. That is a bit more. Maybe I should check the first one again. That's quite high. I think what I'm going to do here is probably go along them all, check them all, and compare the numbers and see how close they're supposed to be. If I check them all first, then I'll have a look. That's a little bit higher than the first one. Does that mean if it's a bit higher than it's supposed to be, it's either it's got excessive carbon build-up, which I don't think it does, or it's been slightly modified. Again, it did have some modified inlet manifolds and exhaust. Did they do something to the compression ratio as well? Who knows? Well, that was all very interesting. The book tells me here the compression ratio is 7:1. Compression pressure at cranking speed for a gasoline engine when hot is 110 pounds per foot minimum. There's also an asterisk here that says the maximum variation between cylinders is 20 pounds per square inch. The readings I got were 115, 124, 128, 128, 129, 136. That means the maximum variation between the cylinders, the maximum is 21. Book says 20. And it's not hot. But also, my readings, when the book says 100 and... will it say 110? Oh god. Book says 110 minimum, and I'm reading like 128. I guess pretty much that's within specifications on it. There is quite a bit of difference between cylinder right on that end and the one right on this end. Both of those, one's high and one's low. All four in the middle are almost identical. Just run it, Tim. Just run it. She'll be fine. Whee! Oh, look at that. Oh, hello. Oh. Smoky. There's quite a lot of carbon on this thing, but I think what that is with the twin carbs, and it's not been run much. I think it's just been started up a lot of times, and there's quite a lot of black soot around. It's a good start. All the valves are there. That's very sooty, that one. It shows up every tiny little scratch, doesn't it? Right, I better turn the engine round. That would help, wouldn't it? So heavy. So heavy. Attempt number 2. Turn on the magic machine. Alright, let's go in. Spark plug hole. Oh, got a piston right on the top. I picked a good one. Right, the piston's right on top of its stroke. Oh, this one's got a valve open. Cool, look at that. Wow. Okay, so it looks like there's lots of scratches here, but what it's doing is the camera is really picking up every tiny little bit of highlight. I think a big scratch would be very different looking. Well, you can see where the piston's been sat for a while. Some lines that have probably been left by the rings. Well, I'm going to have a really good look at these, so I'll spend quite a bit of time going around and having a proper old look, but there you go. If you've ever seen the top of the piston there, this is the cylinder that the piston's sitting in. We'll go around here. Right above us will be the valves. Yes. Oh, we've got another piston on top. Right, I'm going to have a really good look at this. Yeah, it's really, really interesting actually. And quite promising to start off with at least. The valve looks pretty good. Very cool. Right. Actually, I'm going to have a play with this. Have a good look. So far, so good. Alright, something a little bit exciting now, I think. Exciting to me anyway. I've got a new product. I've been waiting for this for a little while. It's a paint, and I'm going to apply it to the exhaust manifold. This stuff is called Cerakote. I came across it when I was looking up stuff for powder coating, and there's quite a lot of crossover between people who powder coat and use this stuff because of the processes or the equipment that's used is quite similar for both. The cleaning process is quite rigorous, parts have to be sandblasted, and then for most of the coatings they are also then baked in an oven. It is also now available in the UK, which is pretty cool because we don't get some of this stuff. We'll leave a link to Cerakote in the descriptions below. So most of their coatings quite specialist, and they're like super hard wearing. They use them a lot in America on gun parts and a lot of motorcycle side covers and all sorts of bits on those. So some of the coatings that they use or make, they're really hard wearing, so they're quite up there with powder coat, maybe even better than powder coat. They also produce one quite interesting hit for us. It's called the C series, and it doesn't need to be baked in an oven. Now that makes it quite handy for us. Oh, because we have a couple of pieces which are too big to put in the oven. One of them being the manifold. And this paint is supposed to go up to 1000 degrees C. Sounds too good to be true. That's why I'm looking forward to trying it out. So yes, it gets sprayed on with a spray gun onto a very, very cleaned up part that has to be sandblasted and totally degreased. You spray it on. It does take about 5 days to dry or fully cure, but it can go onto our manifold, hopefully protect it. It is very expensive, but then a manifold would be a very expensive thing to replace as well. Not only that, there were a few bits that were sitting around on the cab that I had no idea what to do with. They were too big to be powder coated, and there were things like the front grille, the little side steps when you go in, the mirror arms, all those bits and pieces. We've got a colour that's called burnt bronze, and bronze is the colour that I was looking for originally. So I'm hoping this is a good colour. I might be able to do those bits as well.
As with most things, the secret to a good paint finish is in the prep. So first of all, it was back to the sandblasting tent. To try out the paint colour, Tim decided to have a go with the distributor and the top of the fuel pump, see how the colour turned out, how far the paint went, and take it from there.
You cannot wait to live till tomorrow.
So this stuff requires a smaller spray gun than I'm used to using for the top coats and stuff. Wants a 0.8 nozzle, and our smallest one we have on the spray gun is a 1.2. So I dug out my very first spray gun. I've owned this for 32 years now, and they're still running really well. It has to be strained, and it has to be very well shaken up and mixed. And I guess that's it. We'll just clean it up, make sure I've got some way of hanging them to allow them to dry, and spray a coat of this stuff on them.
After all the head scratching over the engine, I think Tim was really happy to get back to a bit of painting, and he was especially excited to try out the Cerakote, particularly as he had previously been unable to find a powder coat in this sort of bronze colour. There has been so much dirty work again of late, and the winter has, to be honest, been long and boring without any big wins, so it really does feel good to be trying out something new and fresh again, and seeing those grimy old bits of metal come good.
Oh, what can I say about that? That was easy. That was one of the easiest things I've painted in a long time. Hopefully these are going to go alright. I'm going to keep an eye on them. I've used, literally I marked the container before I poured out the paint, and I've literally used hardly any, which is a really good sign for me having enough of this to do the manifold, which obviously this is the main reason why I got this stuff. High temperature paint, but it's also very durable as well, so the manifold was the main reason for having it. Yeah, I might do some tests on a piece, maybe spray something up that I don't really need and give it a good old rough up, see how hard it withstands a bit of abuse. But used hardly any, really easy to spray. They say like to keep it wet as you're spraying it so you don't get like dry spray, but that was really pretty straightforward, very easy. A couple of coats of this, and yeah, I'm thinking it's going to dry to a sort of satin rather than, it's quite glossy at the moment because it's still wet. Got a bit hanging up against one of the little front wings up here, and the colour against the original brown is actually really nice. It's better than I thought it might be from looking at the label. All I've got to do now is clean the gun out. Again, acetone is what they recommend for that. Give it a good clean up, and I'll keep you informed. We've got to do quite a few more bits and pieces. And also, I've just got a new batch of some more powder coat for doing some of the engine parts. So yeah, I'm going to be busy sandblasting, coating, painting, plating. Right, clean this up, and so far so good. I wish I had a whole load more money so I could buy a load more of this in other colours. Man, those rear drums would be a lot easier than powder coating them with this stuff. But yeah, we'll see.
The lie has made it down.
Well, Tim might be in love with the new Cerakote, but let's not forget the fabulousness which is powder coating. This stuff has saved us so much pain, especially through the long winters when it's impossible to do any standard paint due to low temperatures and high humidity. Building the powder coating gun and adapting that old oven were two really good decisions when it came to time and no money investments. Although, to be fair, there are one or two hazards to keep in mind.
Life is good, life is good, yeah. Life is good, life is good, yeah. Yeah, in my darkest times, you got me feeling like I've been walking on air. Left on
Oh, I'd love a cup of tea.
Our engine, in case you haven't already guessed, is going to be predominantly cream, with the Cerakote lending a complementary burnt bronze. Tim will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the plan. Looks good, of course, but also shows up in the dark when we're broken down on the side of a rainy road on a January evening and need to see what we're doing.
You're a dusty camera. Morning, yet another day in the old workshop, and today I'm going to have a second attempt at painting this manifold. The first time I tried it, because the Cerakote needs some sandblasting, and I've been doing that to everything pretty much, it showed up a few crack lines and even a couple of holes came through from the sandblasting, and obviously that's no good. So I've had to take it back out, weld it up in a few places, and I'm going to have an attempt number 2 at sandblasting it. That was about a week ago. This is the first time we've had any weather where it's not blowing a gale from the north straight through the doors, so you got to take these opportunities when they come along. And that's really what's holding me up quite a lot at the moment, is this wind is just blowing all the time, and we've got nice things in the workshop now. You know, the truck's coming together and it creates so much dust and mess sometimes, even though we filter it out as good as I can. Yeah, so I just don't want to clean up. So yeah, attempt number 2 at sandblasting this, and I'm hoping that I'm going to get the Cerakote on it today. Yeah, because this is what it's all about really. The little bits and pieces is, you know, just cosmetic for them. This is the bit that really matters, so hopefully I don't blow any more holes in it. Just a little while later, and yep, this time there's no holes and no cracks. It is an old manifold. It's not going to look like absolutely pristine brand new, but the idea of this really is to put the paint on it and just hopefully give it a few more years, because I don't really want to have to make a new one, and hopefully this will be alright for a while. Where should I start? Difficult bits first, I guess.
Say goodbye, you found some reason to be loving. There's a way that makes you feel stronger. Got you leaving at the time she wonders. Stay on tune, we'll get older. Singing sunny Tuesday, 'cause Sunday's raining, and I can't avoid to hear the answers knocking on my door.
It's looking pretty good. I just got to wait a few days for it to dry. It probably looked like I was getting a bit slathering out of paint. There's quite a lot in one of these manifolds, quite a lot of tubing. It took me ages to sandblast it. I tried to give it like one full coat, and then I was going to give it another full coat, but just kind of lost myself a bit. It looked like I was bunging it on, but it's only got a little tiny colour cup, and I used less than that full. It was spilling when I first started, and that's because it was coming out the breathing hole. Probably shouldn't have filled it up. And if you can see this is the bottle. It went from, I used that much to do this. So yeah, it goes a long way, which is really cool, because I've got other things I want to paint with this. And it actually starts looking better once it starts drying. It goes a sort of soft sheen to it. And it's got a really lovely texture, a real nice soft feel. But like I say, this manifold is 50 years old, so it's never going to look perfect. But yeah, we'll do what we can to save it for a little bit longer. It's a bit of history really. Looks pretty.
has made the doubt.
Well, I think this is the end of another video. It does seem to be quite a while since I made the last one. I have been very busy. So yeah, the engine. It's looking pretty good, really. Done a couple of the tests that were suggested. Compression test and putting the borescope down. I think it's passed those ones. And spoke to a previous owner, which has reassured me quite a bit that at least when he did it, it was in quite good condition. I'm pretty happy with the engine and how it is at the moment. It still needs a lick of paint, it's sitting over there. It still needs some work. I have been getting on with all manner of things. So we've done zinc plating and nickel plating on all the bits and pieces. I've done a bit of powder coating. I've done that for a little while, and it's nice getting a new colour. This is a Cerakote, it is 9001. It's the closest I could find to Old English white, and it's pretty close. And the Cerakote, I got that mostly to do the manifold as a heat paint. In the end, I've done loads of stuff. Partly the reason, I think, for the first time, I've actually managed to get together the things that still need to be finished off. And there are various bits and pieces all over the place. But I suddenly realised that there aren't that many left, which is pretty good because this was kind of getting to the point where it was quite overwhelming, really. There's so much work still to be done, but it feels like you're really close to the end, if you like. So yeah, I've been going around collecting up all the little bits and pieces. We've got 3 wheels, 2 rear brake drums, the gearbox is over there, various bits and pieces like the steering column, one of the small drive shaft, and there was a bunch of other things, side steps, grab handles for the back, wing mirror arms, various bits and pieces that I didn't know how to paint or what to do them, and I've got rid of a whole load of them by Cerakoting them. It paints really nice. It's a very easy paint to apply, I found. I do have a bit of experience of spraying stuff, but I found it really nice paint to put on. As to how well it weathers the weather, I guess only time will tell, and we'll see what happens with it. So I've got to paint the engine. I'm going to do some more checks on that. I'm going to check the clutch if I can, get to it all. Hopefully I can start putting this all back together again soon, and see if it runs again. I'd like to give a special thank you to John Wilkinson, who is our newest Patreon. So thank you very much, John. Very much appreciated. And thanks to all our other patrons and anyone else who's watching. And if you got to the end this far, brilliant. Thank you very much. And thank you for all the comments we got from the last video. They were very useful. Like we said before, we're not experts in all of this stuff. I'm not bad at painting a few things, but definitely not an expert. So your advice was very much appreciated. Till next time, and hopefully we'll get this back together a bit. See you later. And thanks.
Thank you indeed from me as well to all our patrons and to everyone who watches, comments and supports us during this long project. To become a patron, just follow the links in the description or on the screen at the end of the video right here. Or just subscribe to the channel, which is free but gives us a warm, happy glow, which is invaluable. Take care until next time, and we'll see you back here soon.